All right, we are talking about where blessings come from. We know that that life is very how do you say delicate. It's very delicate. A person just goes for a little while, God forbid, without food, without water, as his life is at stake. A person can be healthy and rich, and all of a sudden he just doesn't have any health. Wealthy, and or a person can have no children, right? He has everything he needs, but doesn't have children. We'll talk about this in a moment. So generally, those three things, which are called bani chayu mizoni, the person's livelihood and a person's health and a person's family, those are the main three aspects of your physical life. And those things are determined on Rosh HaShanna. Those things are determined on Rosh HaShanna. That's the whole idea of Rosh HaShanna, that everybody passes in front of Hashem, they judge, they're a judge. That's the first Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah. If you look in the Mishnah, Rosh Hashanah, it says that Rosh Hashanah, that everybody in the world is judged. Everyone in the world is judged. So that's pretty clear. I mean, you just pray for what you get on Rosh Hashanah, and then on Rosh Hashanah, and then it says that the judgment can be changed until Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, it gets up to its highest stage, and then after that, the blessings start coming down. So that's the idea of prayer on Rosh Hashanah, and it makes sense because Adam was created on Rosh Hashanah. The first man, he was created on Rosh Hashanah. So that's when God decided what's going to be with man for the whole rest of the year. And time itself is just a creation, right? Time is just a creation. Time, God creates time, and He doesn't create time all the time. This whole idea that there is such a thing as time, that reality unfolds gradually, that's a miracle. It's the miracle creation of God. Time, it's just we live in the middle of time. There's past and there's future, and there's present. To us, time is something much bigger than us. Time is much bigger than us. The past, how much time is there in the past, right? In the future. But in the present, it's just like a little nothing. But by God, it doesn't exactly work that way. By God, past, present, and future is all just one little, so to speak, nothing. It's one creation. So we can't really understand how that is, but nevertheless it is. But, as we've said so many times, that we are very, very important to God. Very important. And that's why God created man. That's not just that it was so little and small, and God would just so watch us bumbling around in the dark like little ants in a whatever it is, in a closed bottle or something, just to see what we do. No, man is very, very important to God, to the degree that our prayers actually can change God's mind. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, but it's true. Even though we're just creations of God, we don't have any real existence of our own. But God, and that's the way it is. So we are really important to God, and because we are really important to God, as the way that God blesses us and what He gives us and how He provides for us is very important. Let me just close this over here. There it is. Is very important, to God. And also to us. So now, therefore, every little detail of the world comes out to be very, very important, because God is creating it, and it's all somehow or other relevant to us. So how do we get our life? How do we get our money and our health and our family? How do we get all these things? So it all comes from God, but it comes from God in a process. Just like the human body has a process, right? You have an impulse from your brain. You want to do something. It comes from your brain, and then it comes into your emotions and your heart, and then it's processed into your nerves, into your muscles, and it moves your bones and your fingers, and then it coordinates with your feeling in your fingers and your skin. So it's all very every living thing is very dynamic and very complicated. So that's how it goes. On the other hand, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. God, there's nothing except for God. God is totally one. And whatever God decides, that's what there is. That's it. So it's pretty simple. Whatever God decides, that's what there is. But how God decides, one of the things that God decides is that he wants this whole process to occur. So on one hand, it's tremendously simple. All there really is God. Hashem Echad. But on the other hand, it's infinitely, infinitely, infinitely complicated. That between God and us is all these spiritual, between the essence of God and us, there's all these spiritual levels and concealments and channels of blessing and movement, and that's the whole idea of the Holy Temple and our serving God, that we elevate energy and energy comes back down. Okay, but let's go back to our topic. Our topic was, when is man judged? According to one opinion, man is judged on Rosh HaShanna. That's what everybody agrees. It's the Mishnah. According to another opinion, we're going to see that man is judged every day. And some say every hour, and some say constantly. So how do these things seem to contradict one another? Let's see. Alpi, according to this, that what we said, that there's a general decision on Rosh Hashanah, and then this becomes articulated through the year. So it's really no contradiction. On Rosh Hashanah, and then up to Yom Kippur, it's a general decision. And then it comes on individually. This is every month, every day, every hour. Alpi, according to this, Yuvan, we can understand in Inyan the whole idea of a din v'mishpat, the judgment that there is every day. Like the rabbis say of blessed memory in the Gemara, Rosh Hashanah, the Adam Nidam B'kol Yom, a man is judged every day. The Hine Kasiv, it is written in the book of Exodus, in the Ten Commandments. What does it say over the fourth of the Ten Commandments? What does it say? 6 days you should work, and do all of your work. Right, that's what it says. And then it continues on, it says, Ki, because 6 days God made the creation of the heavens and the earth. Etayom is called Shabam, the sea and everything in it. Vayanach bayom hashvi, and that God rested, God stopped creating things on the seventh day. Be'isa b'zohar, and it says in the Zohar, B'kol yom aved avidate, that every day has its special service. Now just think about it 1 minute. Why did God have to schlep the world out into 7 days? If God, according to Judaism, if God could really create something from nothing, so he could have created the whole world in 1 instant, right? What's harder, to create the world from one little atom? We'll take one little atom and create the whole entire universe from it, right? What is harder, to do that or to create one little atom from nothing? So, you take one little atom and you make a world. So the increase essentially is just a quantitative one in number. You had one atom and it makes more atoms. Of course, there's different types of atoms and different molecules, but basically you're taking something and you're just sort of, how do you say, you're changing its form, its shape, whatever it is, but you're taking something and making one something from another something. But to take nothing and to make it something, you can't do that. No matter how much nothings you've got, we have no idea what nothing is. So obviously, if God to do, how long does it take to go from nothing to something? No time at all. So if God could go from nothing to something in no time at all, which no human being can make something from nothing. And if God could do that, then he could do it in no time at all. So obviously he could take, do an easier thing, namely take one little atom and make it into the whole universe. That also he could take no time, obviously. So why did God have to schlep it out for 7 days? Why did he have to do it for 7 days? So he says this is according to Kabbalistic principles, and it comes out that it all depends on our service. God did this so that we will serve him according to these 7 different aspects of God. So it is in the service of man. Right? God wants us to return energy to him. That's what he wants. Why does he want such a thing like that? I have no idea. But the fact is, why he created us. He just decided to create us. This is an amazing miracle. Here we are. Nobody wants to say, forget it, God, don't create me anymore. No one wants. Everybody likes to be here. So it says, why does God create man? God creates man in order to serve him. Why did God create the world in 6 days? In order that man should serve God. And there's 6 different ways to serve God. These 6 days of serving God and doing all of your work, that each and every Jew has his own special work, that before it he was created, and for it came his soul to the world. Every Jew. Now, why do we say only the Jews and not the non-Jews? The Jews have a special thing to serve God. The non-Jews, their whole purpose is to make the world an orderly place, to make the world a good place, to make the world a harmonious place, right? To make it says Leshavas Yitzaro, that the world should be a peaceful place, a productive place. But the Jews, their job is to make the world a holy place, right? To make a holy temple. Non-Jews can't make a holy temple. Jews can make a holy temple. That's why the Jews were put into the world, and every day is different, because every Jew has his own special way of serving God, and it changes according to each and every day. Because it says, Yomim Yutzoru, V'lo Echad Behem. It says the days were made, it's in the Psalms. God made days, and he has one in them. The Tachlis Kol Yomim, that the whole purpose of all this idea of time and days, Asher Notzru, that God makes and gives to a person. Well, you probably noticed that people don't live forever, right? People live for only a certain amount of time. Even, Adam and Metushelach, so they lived 900 plus years, but that's it. So everybody who has a certain amount, if Adam wouldn't have eaten from the tree, the people would live forever, right? Why would they live forever? Because people would get so much enjoyment out of just serving God every moment that they're here, that every second would be brand new for everybody. It wouldn't be like they lived forever. They would just live. Right? They just wouldn't die. So that's the way things are supposed to be. And every day is given to man, b'chedei, in order, v'lo echad behem, that to him there will be one in them. Namely, that the person, b'avodato, in his service, should draw down this level of one, the oneness of God. And there's the fact that there is a creator creating the world miraculously from nothing every instant. The echad hu roshe tevos, that this thinking about every moment about the oneness of God. What does it mean, the oneness of God? It's the first letters, initials, Aleph, Chet, Dalet. Aleph is Ein Sof, the oneness of God, Aleph. Alufo Shel Olam, he is the master of the world. That's the Aleph. Chet, so the Aleph refers to God. Chet, this refers to the variations that there are in the world, the 7 heavens and the earth. And the Dalet in the word Echad, these are the 4 directions of the world. In general, this means place. And the time, Yomim, so that's what it means. Yomim Yetzero, God made days, V'lo Echad Mehem. Echad, this refers to making God one in place, and also Yomim refers to time. So you should have to make God one in place and in time. The Hainu, namely the Adam Avodah. So what is our service of God? No matter where we are, no matter what we do. It's one of the 6 constant commandments. We talked about that. It's to unify God. Lechaber zman umakom leyachtom elokus. That every time and every place that you are, to think about God, to speak, say what God wants you to say, to think, do what God wants you to do. That's what in Malachtecha. This is what it says. Shesh Yamim ta'avod v'asisa kol malachtecha. Where is it? It says Shesh Yamim ta'avod, and do all of your malachtecha, all of your work. This is the work that you have to do. Shehu malechat adam. This is the work of a person in the world. But tachlit yeridas neshamas, that the purpose of his soul came into this world is in order to interact with the world, and that he should always improve the world. He should always be adding to the world. He should be the boss of the situation, and not the situation is the boss over him. He has to remember that he's a Jew and he's a representative of God, no matter where he goes, no matter what time, no matter what he's doing. But it's a little more complicated than that. Amnan malachazu. This work has to be done every single day. Ba'avoda biyagia, with work and effort. Shiagias basar v'yagias nefesh. This is work of the soul and the flesh and of the soul. In other words, it's hard. You have to go against your nature. That's what it means. That's what it means. 6 days you should work. But kol yom v'yom, every single day, there has to be this particular service, and the service of God, lafi milas hayom, according to that day. According to that day in the upper sphirot. What does that mean? Every day has its own nature. God could have made the world in one instant, or one day, or 2 days. What did God have to make the world in 7 days for? Because each and every day represents another one of the emotional aspects of God. The first day is Chesed. Right? And we're talking about Sunday, Yom Rishon, after Shabbos. That day you should concentrate on love, loving God. Yom Sheni, the second, is Gevura. That's the thing of fearing God, thinking about how awesome God is. Yom Shlishi is Tiferet, beauty. This one means serving God together, love and fear. Estakla b'yakora de malka, to look at the glory of God and see how God himself includes all opposites. Gevura, Chesed, Gevura, love and fear. And God is so awesome that he inspires love and fear together. That's what day? Day number 3. Yom Revi'i, the 4th day, Wednesday. That's Netzach. What's Netzach? Victory. This is to arouse victory. Wednesday, try to arouse victory in your soul in order to overpower even the slightest not good things. Pazeo de Brevi'i nitlu amoras. That's what it says on the 4th day. God hung out the sun and the moon and all the stars. Shu ora me'ir. This is the light that mainly the sun and the moon. Ora me'ir. This is the light that shines of Shemesh Havaya, namely the sun. Shemesh Havaya, the sun in the sky. It's called. God is called the sunlight. Hadoche u'mechala, that this pushes away even the smallest little bits of not good. That's Yom Revi'i. Yom Revi'i, Wednesday, that corresponds to God's aspect of victory, to overpower all of the darkness, illuminate the darkness. Yom Chamishi, that is Hod. Right, this goes according to the Sfirot. Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod. Hod is litbonen, to think and contemplate. Lahasig Hod kavod malchuto, the glory of God's kingship. Kamoshu muvan, as we can understand from the creation. To see the glory and the splendor of God, how it is in the world. How many stars there are, how many animals there are, how many plants there are. It's amazing. Look at a field of grass, how many blades of grass there are. God is creating each and every one separately. When a person thinks about this, Ma Rabba Masecha, how great are your deeds? How many are your deeds? Right? The sun, moon, just floating around there, hanging up in the middle of nowhere. This big, huge, who knows how much it weighs. Just hanging out there in the middle of nowhere, right? In the middle of the sky. Incredible. going around, moving constantly, never stopped. According to Judaism, it's not such a big miracle. God created the world 5,781 whatever years ago. According to science, it's an incredible miracle, right? God created the world 785 quadrillion years ago. That the moon and the sun, whatever, has been just floating around, going around in their orbits or whatever. So that's pretty big. It's pretty incredible. And the fact of the matter is 5,700 years is good enough. Even if it was just 1 year, it's good enough. Even if it was 1 second, the fact that God creates all the stars and all the sun and the moon and all the microbes and atoms and everything, it's totally mind blowing. This is God's glory, Hod. Then that's Thursday. Friday, Yom Shishi. That corresponds to the sixth emotion of God from the top to the bottom. That's called Yesod. Yesod means connection. This means to unite the heavens and the earth. What's called how God fills all the worlds and surrounds the worlds. Unification. This is the unification we're talking about before. It's known that all these emotions, and of course the final day is Shabbos again. So it's known that all of these emotions, really, they're included one in the other. V'zui shleimuso. In other words, it's not so clean cut as we just said. Chesed also has inside of it all the other sphere. That's the thing of Sfirat Omer, remember? And Gvura has also inside of it. So this aspect of love has inside of it also love, which is expressed in a way of fear, and another, right? Like you love your children, so you're afraid something bad is going to happen to them, etc. So you love God, you're afraid to go because you love Him so much, you're afraid to do anything against Him. And also the beauty, Tiferet, because you love God. So there's 7 aspects of love and 7 aspects of fear, and 7 aspects of balance, beauty, and we said, V'keinu be'inyani avoda, so it is in the service of God. You can unify all of these sphirot together, one with the other. So it's not just pure love. Love has also fear in it, fear has love in it, and also all of them. If so, what's the big difference between Sunday and Monday? They're all included, everything is included, everything else. But Imza, nevertheless, every single day has its special service according to the Sfirot of that day. That's what it means that man is judged every day. According to that day, according to the service that you serve God on that day, that's the blessing that you get on that day. But that doesn't contradict on that a person's, whatever is his blessings that he gets, decided on Rosh HaShanna and goes up to Yom Kippur. Because it's decided in a general way. And then what you do with it, if you draw it out, then that's according to what we said before, moving, it's understood that from this level of chesed, kindness, love, which is given out from Rosh Hashanah, and it goes up to till Yom Kippur, and then it's finally drawn down into the level of Malchut of Atzilut. Remember we talked about that? The what's called the creative power of God. Malchut of Atzilut, the highest of the 4 worlds. That's what happens. That's the result of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. You're allocated the blessings of the coming year are allocated. But in a general way. It's up in this very high spiritual level. It's waiting for you. But it can be mizek, kama mini, ofani, chesed, v'asiyah. There can be a lot of different, it can come out in actuality in a lot of different ways. That since in kindness, kamoshu batzilus as it is in Atzilus, there is no form at all, but ofan ashpa of chesed v'asiyah, harihu, right? When this love of God is in Atzilut, so it's not, it's no form. There's no form to it. Harihu bebechinas chesed pashut. This is love of God, but it's simple. It can come down in a way of health, it can come down in a way of money, and it can come down in this world, and maybe it can come down that it's waiting for you after you die. Sheyochel itztaer, it can die by means, it can be this decision that God made on Rosh Hashanah, that you're going to have a blessed year. That's just in general it's decided. But it can, when it comes down, when it comes into the worlds of Bria, Yetzir, and Asiyah, then changes can happen. You can never tell what's going to be in the middle. Gashmi ba'olam hazeh, that was one of the things of the Kohanim. The Kohanim speed up the blessings that you get on Rosh Hashanah. They speed up the blessings so it comes down into the world. That's Birkat Kohanim. So therefore, it could be, let's say a person, they just don't, you don't have to go so far. Here, there's people that they win the lottery, right? They win the lottery and then they destroy their lives with the lottery. They take out whatever it is, they won $50 million and they spend, first 50 days, they spend $1 million a day. The first day they buy $1 million worth of brandy. The second day they worth $1 million worth of hot dogs. And the third day they buy $1 million worth of whatever is candy, and then that's the third day. And the fourth day, they buy him a grave for whatever is $1,000, and that's it. He's finished. Right. So what's good is all the blessings that he gets. Even more, God is saying, the Rebbe is saying that God is allocating this blessing in the course of the year according to what you do every day. That's what it means, the judgment of every single day. B'chesed, and for instance, love, that's drawn down to a person in l'tzorich ma yitpashet v'yimshach, according to what he will spend it on. Im l'kol minei meitav, maybe it'll be, kindness will be for all sorts of good things. He'll use it in a proper way. His family, his health, his livelihood. Or maybe you'll only get 2 of them. Or maybe you'll only get 1 of them. Maybe there's this tremendous blessing that a person gets, and God says, okay, because of that, now he's going to have children. Didn't have children. What about health? Too bad. What about money? Sorry. Well, what's good is all the children if I don't have any money, if I don't have any health. That's it. That's the blessing you get. Hadinu mishpat hazeh, this is according to a base din shel maila. Who decides what you're going to get? According to the heavenly court. It's what's called the heavenly court. Shebeheichal hazechut. This is what's called in the chamber of merit. Right? I told you in the upper worlds it's complicated. Hainu beheichal is the bria. This is what's called somewhere in the worlds of bria. That's where the souls are. If they decide that this love and kindness and blessing that he merited to on Rosh Hashanah, that now they decide how it's going to be given. Shenikzav Adam Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, as Ein B'Shashem Mimshach Mata, maybe it can't be drawn down, and call Achuta Meshulash, and to this all these 3 ways of blessing of Bani Chayom Mizone, of family, health, and livelihood. Ki Im Shnayim, may only 2 of them. For instance, Azai, then there's Mishpat Lamash Yimshach Shafa Chesed Im Labani or Lachai. Right now, this person has been decided. He gets a big blessing on this year, but it can only be 2 of the 3 things. Right? There's livelihood, there's health, and there's family. Pick 2. Which would you rather be blessed in? And the other one you're not going to get anything in. So what type of a thing is that? What do I mean pick 2? I'm going to get sick. I'm going to have a nice family or health, but I'm going to be sick. Hey, I don't want that. Okay, so I'll be healthy and I'll have money, but I won't have a family. I don't want that either. Hey, I don't like this blessing. This is not a good blessing. But it's a blessing. What do you want, to be poor in all 3? Nah, I'll take 2. So it says, so we'll decide for you. Sometimes the upper court, a person can have children and he can have health. I'm sorry, children that are healthy and etc. Or he can be rich. He can have rich and be multi-millionaire. And he can be healthy. That'll have money and he'll have health. This, now we can have the prayer. Okay, how can I change it? It's decided up in the upper court. Can I change it one way or the other? So he's going to bring the story from the Baal Shem Tov. And it's a very interesting story. I don't know if I ever told you the story. Here it's mentioned at the beginning of the story. And I heard from Rabbi Mendel Futafas the whole entire story. A whole entire story. So let's learn and we'll see. More or less, this helps the prayers of a tzaddik. A tzaddik, what is a tzaddik? A tzaddik is a person that his whole life is purely dedicated to loving God and fearing God and having faith in God. That's his whole life. he doesn't think about money. He doesn't think about this. All these money and health and everything, that's just a product, an outcome from this main thing is having love of God, appreciating God, love of God, fear of God, and faith of God. That's the life of a tzaddik. So sometimes a person can, let's say he has children and he hasn't got health, and he's got money, so he can go to a tzaddik and he ask for a blessing, right? There's how many stories there are about the Lubavitcher Rebbe giving people blessings for health. All of a sudden he comes to them, and it doesn't take anything away from them. And the Rebbe said that, I heard from Rabbi Groner, Olav Shalom, and that somebody asked the Rebbe, why does he do all these miracles? And so the Rebbe said, because when someone sees a miracle, so they realize that there's more to the world than meets the eye. That the world is just not a physical place, that there's a whole other system going on here that's a real system. And that's the system that really cares, God's system. And what we see with our eyes is just like the outside of the outside of the outside of this whole system. It's like a person looking at a bus and understanding that how does the bus drive? Because the wheels go around. Right? How do the wheels go around? That's not important. Or there's a little horse inside, or a band-aid, what is it? A rubber band. They wind it up. So it says, for instance, there's a story. Bazum, more or less, a tefillah is a tzaddik. Now we can understand there was a story, a maisa. She'iru Eitzel Baal Shem Tov, occurred by the Baal Shem Tov, Neshmas Oedin, a blessed memory. So a soul is in heaven. Be'echad, in a person, she'ita mitzvah b'kashaso, that he made tremendous effort and he prayed. He made tremendous effort to convince the Baal Shem Tov to pray for him, Yivasha, that he should be blessed with children. Va'ishahu haya ashir gadol, and this person was very, very rich. Velo anahu Baal Shem Tov, he would come to the Baal Shem Tov, please, I want children, and the Baal Shem Tov would not answer him. Ad until Kipam itamets itamsu aish veishto, the man and his wife came together to the Baal Shem Tov, and they begged, and the Baal Shem Tov, he said he saw that they really, truly want children from the depth of their heart, and he said, okay, but when you are born a child, you'll lose all of your money. You'll be aniyim, you'll be totally poor your whole life. V'yivchar b'banim, they said, that's what we want. We want health and children. Right? There's three blessings: health, family, and riches. And they said, we already have riches and health, and we're willing to give up our riches for children. And so it was. Baal Shem Tov Nishmas Eden Hechlif. He was able to exchange the source of this kindness from above in order, al yadei habeit din, the decision that was made by the heavenly court, al osher, and Baal Shem Tov was able by his prayers to change it to children. Because of the kindness that was decided on Rosh HaShanna, this kindness and love that God was going to give him could have come down in only 2 of 3 ways. Right? Pick your 2. Children, health, and money. Pick 2 of them, whatever you want. And he said, okay, I'm willing to give up the money. I want health and children. And the Baal Shem Tov was able to change them. So while we're at it, I'll tell you the story. This is what Rabbi Mendel Futafas told me. He told me it came out a little bit different than this. This is how he told me the story, a little bit different. According to this, it says that the man went with his wife and got the blessing from the Baal Shem Tov. Okay, however it is, the story that was told me is like this, that the man went to the Baal Shem Tov and the Baal Shem Tov said, okay, you can have a blessing. But you're going to lose all of your money. You'll have children. And I'll make the story short. And sure enough, you went back home. Reb Mendel sort of made it a little more dramatic, but the man went back home, and sure enough, he lost all of his money, and every year another child would be born. Until after 10 years, he lived in this big shipping crate by the docks. And every time he would have another child or a couple of children, they would just find another shipping crate and push them together. But he had to go out and beg. He couldn't make any money. He had to go out and beg. And how did he make that? How this man was rich? How is he rich? How had he been rich? He made his money in lumber, and he had every year he had these huge forests. He would cut down the lumber and put the logs on the frozen river, tie them all together. He had men that would do it, and they would make a special sign on the logs, and then they would wait until the summer. The summer came, and the river would melt, and the logs would float downstream, and he would sell them. And this man also had a big, huge factory, a carpenter factory with big saws, and he would make planks from these. Maybe he would float the logs down to his factory. In any case, he would do it. Well, as soon as the Baal Shem Tov gave him this blessing that he would lose his money, but he would have children, as soon as he gave it, all of a sudden, in the middle of the freezing cold, 20 degrees below zero Ukrainian weather, suddenly one day it was like 80 degrees outside. Hot. Nobody understood what happened, but immediately all the rivers melted. He lost all of his logs, millions of dollars. And then the next day, his factory burned down. So he lost all of his machinery and everything. And then he started being a pauper, and then he started having children. After 10 years, the Baal Shem Tov came to the city. After 10 years, the Baal Shem Tov came to the city where he was, and he sort of crept in to the huge synagogue where the Baal Shem Tov was sitting in the front. He crept in, just have a glimpse at the Baal Shem Tov. As soon as he got in, the Baal Shem Tov noticed him and told him to come. He asked him, how is things doing? He said, I can't complain. You have children, thank God. I had 10 children. He says, how is the parnasa? He says, I'm not complaining. The Baal Shem Tov said, listen, don't worry. You have your children, you'll keep your children. Tell me the truth. How is the parnasa? He says, well, sometimes we don't have what to eat. The Baal Shem Tov said, here, look, take this coin, give it to your wife. It'll hold her for about a month. You go to the city of Minsk, and there nobody knows you. You go to the Jewish sector, and over there ask for donations, collect charity. So he said, okay. So sure enough, he went home, gave his wife the money, and he went to Minsk. He got there like Friday morning, enough time to wash up, went to the synagogue in Minsk, and someone invites him home. This is this rich guy that has now he's poor, and he has 10 children. So the Baal Shem Tov sent him. So he goes to Minsk, and someone invites him to this house. A rich person invites him to his house. So he goes to this rich person's house, and it's really a nice house, and it reminds him of how his house used to be like 10 years ago when he used to have money. But he keeps reminding himself, listen, I want the children, I'm very happy with the exchange I made. And he sees this man, the house owner, is very sort of, how do you say, not happy. He's not happy. So after the meal is finished, he says, I thank you very much, but tell me, I see you're not happy. I used to be rich like you. Tell me what's your problem. So the rich man looks at him and says, who is this bum coming? He's asking me, what's he, a psychiatrist? He was about to kick him out, but he figured, listen, nothing will hurt. I can't lose anything. So he said, well, did you see, there was me and my wife, did you see there was an older girl that kept coming in? Yeah, she says, well, that's my daughter. She's already 30 years old, and nobody wants to get married to her. The first husband she was engaged to, they took him into the army. The second husband he had a terrible accident and he died. The third husband, he went crazy. And now everybody thinks that she's cursed and no one wants to, I don't know what to do. So this person said, listen, I had also a dilemma. And you should know there's a person called the Baal Shem Tov. You go to him, and he's a person that's close to God. He like Moses took the Jews out of Egypt. He can help. He likes to help Jews in their problems. Let's go to him. So they say, okay. He says, all right. And they travel to the Baal Shem Tov. They get there Sunday afternoon. The Baal Shem Tov says to this rich man, tells the poor guy to stand outside. Says, listen, when you go back home, right? When you go back home, it's going to be tomorrow. You're already going to have a shidduch for your wife, for your daughter. And it's going to be a good shidduch, but I want you to remember at the wedding, I want you to give matchmaker's money to this poor guy. Baal Shem Tov, if my daughter finds a husband, I'll give him, he'll be a rich man. Baal Shem Tov said, okay, remember. So he goes back home, and sure enough, he goes back home, his wife is beaming, standing in the doorway, beaming. She said, you won't believe what happened. And early this morning, there came the train. The first boy that our daughter was engaged to, they gave him an honorable discharge from the army. And the first thing he did was he jumped on the train and he came here and he wanted to know if our daughter is married. And I sent him to the rabbi, that the rabbi should check him out to see if he's normal to be in the Russian army. Make anybody crazy. And the rabbi said he's 100% normal. And the whole time he was in the army, he managed to put on tefillin and keep kosher. And we're just waiting for you to finalize it. So, of course, this man is tremendously happy. After a month, 2 months, whatever, they make a wedding. And he invites like 5,000 people to the wedding with a band. They make it outside. And right before the actual wedding ceremony, under what's called the chuppah, under the wedding canopy, suddenly the Baal Shem Tov appears. And he goes over to the rich man and he says, tell me. Oh, he says, oh, Baal Shem Tov, if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't have happened. This is wonderful. Thank you. I was going to come and I sent you an invitation. He said, yeah, I got the invitation. I just wanted to know, did you pay him matchmaker's money? So, did I pay him matchmaker's money? I sure did. Usually they give, $1,000. I gave him $50,000. The Baal Shem Tov said, no, not enough. So, I'm sorry. I guess I was thinking a little bit, off track. Okay, I'll give him $100,000. The Baal Shem said, no. That's not enough. You have to give him more than that. He said, okay, you know what? He loosens his tie. I'll give him $200,000. This is the Baal Shem Tov said, I see you don't understand my intention. Tell me, how much money are you worth? He says to the rich guy, how much money are you? He said, I don't know, I'll have to get my accountants to just think. All of a sudden his head becomes clear. He says about maybe $5 million. $5 million. The Baal Shem Tov said, give him half. 5 million rubles, whatever. Give him half. Half? How could I give him half? I would have to sell, and there's no time. How could I do that? I would have to sell what I... So the Baal Shem Tov said, calm down. He said, tell me, were you always rich or did you become rich? Tell me the story. So he said, well, to tell you the truth, about 11 years ago, I was very poor. And I used to collect money. And it went like a week and nobody gave me any donations. I didn't know what to do. So I went down to the river. I was so depressed, I just didn't know. And I have my daughter here. And suddenly I saw this big, huge log. So I brought a couple of strong people from the city, and we dragged this log into the lumberyard, and they gave me $100 for it. Then the next day I went down and I saw there were 10 logs, and then the day after that there was 100 logs, and nobody was interfering with me until I was drawing these logs, and I was a rich man. Then I heard that somebody's factory burned down, a lumber factory, and all these machines were for sale, so I bought them all up. And I fixed them. There was no problem to fix them up. So the Baal Shem Tov said, you should know that all the money you have used to belong to him. Now you give him half, you'll be rich, he'll be rich, and he has 10 children, and your daughter got married, and everyone is happy. That's the end of the story. Okay. In any case, the point of the story is that it is decided that a person will be blessed on Rosh HaShanna, but exactly how this blessing will come down is not so clear. But Alpiz, according to this, now we can understand why we pray and we request every day in the Shemon Esrei for health, refuah, parnasa. Even though that it was already decided for us on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, nevertheless, this is only in a general way. A general blessing of God, a general love of God. But this blessing that you get on Rosh Hashanah, it has not yet been articulated, b'inyanim gashmim, and expressed in physical things. Ubakol yom, every day, anu mavakshim, we ask for God that this kindness that He gave us and was decided in Malchut of Atzilut, in this tremendously high, spiritual, amorphous, but unshaped way, will be itlabish b'gashmi de'ilu, that we pray every day that we should have healing and we should have money and we should have borech hashanim and etc. That's why the reason why we said that Rabbi Yeva Saba, that he prayed for his food, even though the food was right sitting in front of him. And because it could be that even though the food is right in front of him, but the food is not his. Right? All of a sudden he gets a toothache, who knows what, and he has to go out, all of a sudden comes a dog, takes away the food from him. He doesn't know. So therefore he has to pray, even though the food is sitting right in front of him, because every single instant is different. That's why he prayed that the kindness of God should come into this food. That's what it says 6 days. This is summary. 6 days of the creation of the Indian. There's the idea of 6 aspects of God and 6 ways of service that we should serve God. The service of man is to join time and place and unify them with the Creator, with God, every single day according to that nature of that day, according to the Sfirot. And this is the judgment the judgment every day. If what was decided every day will come down into the physical world, or maybe it'll stay in spiritual worlds. If it'll come down to family, health, and livelihood, or maybe only one of them, or maybe it's possible to change one, like the Baal Shem Tov did with this person. Let's just do a little bit of the next one here. And now we're really getting into how exactly these blessings come down. This is from Perek Chaf onward. What happened? Perek Aleph. There it is. That the fact that a person is judged every day, this is the opinion of Rav Yossi. What do we say? Rav Yeva Saba, that he said a man is judged every moment. That a person is judged every day, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. It's in one of the statements there, what's called a Breita in the Gemara Rosh HaShanna. But there's another opinion, there's Rabbi Natan. Rabbi Natan says that a person is judged every hour. Like it says in Job, Regaim Tivachananu, that every moment God decides. There are questions that are asked. 1 second, 1 minute. One says you're judged every day. One says you're judged every hour. But according to both of these opinions, it seems that the judgment on Rosh Hashanah is meaningless. I mean, if you're judged every day and every hour, then what do you need the judgment once a year for? In any case, the judgment that you're judged once a year means nothing. You're judged brand new. So it says, according to Rabbi Natan, Ein Bein Rosh Hashanah, according to the Rabbi Yossi, whether according to Rebbe Yossi that it says every every day a person is joined, or Rebbe Nassan that says every hour a person is judged. I'm sorry. then there's no difference. Ein bein Rosh Hashanah. There's no difference between Rosh Hashanah and all the other days of the year. Kulam and Yadin. Every day you're judged. Or every hour you're judged. So what's the difference between Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is just another day. What's the difference between that? How can we understand the sentence, what it says, Chok Yisrael, that Rosh Hashanah is a statute for the Jewish people, is the judgment, everyone is judged, that refers to Rosh Hashanah. And also, let's understand another thing. It says, the Tamid Einei Hashem Elokecha Bo, that the eyes of God are on the land of Israel from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. So the question is asked, one second, the eyes of God are on Israel all the time. Why does it have to throw in the beginning of the year there? They're just always on. So it says, from this, we learn in the Gemara that Rosh Hashanah, that's the day of judgment. That the eyes of God are on Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And then the beginning of the next year is another judgment. So here it says clearly that you are judged on Rosh Hashanah. So how can Rabbi Yossi say that you're judged every day? Or Rabbi Nassan said we're judged every hour. What's going on every? When are we judged? Oh, and also, what is the idea of Malchus Zachrenas Shofros? What is this idea that on Rosh Hashanah we say sentences to make God a king, that God should remember us, and God should listen to the shofar that we say on Rosh Hashanah? If Rosh Hashanah is just like every other day. Every day is a day of judgment, right? You can't possibly think this, that Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Nassan, that there is no such thing as Rosh Hashanah. Of course there is. So how would you explain it? Elavada yen machlokas, there's no argument at all. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, this is the day of judgment. And that's what it says in the book. There's a book which is called Asara Mamoros. Maimor Chikur Din, etc. Shalom Echalek Adam, that no one ever disagreed with this, that Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment. Everyone agrees. Hainu, that everyone agrees that then on Rosh Hashanah is decided in a general way what is coming to a person. Therefore, we say, Malchus, we have all these prayers of making God a king, and then we say that God should remember in the Musaf prayer. And that God should remember, and that the God should listen to the shofar. But that's just in a general way. The building, what's called the building of God's kingship of Atzilut. This is from Rosh Hashanah until Yom Kippur. That then, when it goes all the way up to Yom Kippur, that's the beginning of this judgment is Rosh Hashanah. But it really goes up, the final judgment is on Yom Kippur. Then, in the Ne'ilah prayer, we talked about this before, then this level of Malchut of Atzilut receives from what's called the 5 Gevuros, the 5 severities of Atik. Then everything starts to become a little bit sort of divided up. But nevertheless, it's only drawn as a source. This is the source of the life that's coming down to the Jewish people, the blessing that's coming down to the Jewish people, and really that's coming down to the whole world. But in Atzilus, and then from that is the source for it to come down into the lower worlds, Bria, Yetzir, and Asir for the whole rest of the year. But the day of Rosh Hashanah, it's drawn down in a general way how it's going to come to the whole world. In Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur, it's already divided up and sealed a little bit, each and every person in specifically, right? But it's only in a general way. Nevertheless, Svirale, Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Nassan, they hold that a person, even though it's decided in a general way for each and every person on Rosh Hashanah, but nevertheless, Rabbi Yossi that says every day, and Rabbi Nassan that says every hour, that a person is judged every day on all of the things, for instance, on the details, whether he'll be sick, whether he'll be healthy, whether he'll live, whether he'll live, maybe he'll get the blessing. He won't live, he'll die, he'll get the blessing in the world to come. Because this blessing which is set for a person on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, even though that already was decided and drawn down into what we call this lowest aspect of Atzilut, but still it's not shaped yet. It's not a Tor B'inyan Olam Hazeh. It's not in this physical world. Like we said, the person wins the lottery, $50 million, but how is he going to use it exactly? How is he going to use it every single day? Ki ein aroch asiya legabi atzilut, because how it's going to come into this physical world, which this world is called the world of asiya, it's incomparable to atzilut. Therefore, there can be all of these differences in this world, but nevertheless, on Rosh HaShanna and Yom Kippur, the judgment has not been completed as to what exactly it's going to do in this world as far as family or health or livelihood goes, or matters of this world. And the Din of Mishpat, what's going to be exactly Beit Din Shel Maila, how it's going to come down into this physical world, this is judged brand new, like we're going to explain. Okay, so this is what's going to be decided then in every single day and every single moment of the year. And on this we're going to talk about, God willing, next week. We're now in the middle of Perek Aleph of Mishnah Chaf. I'll make a mark. So now at least we know that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there is a very kind judgment for every single, especially Jew, and then from that comes the whole entire world. It all depends on how the Jews pray, if the world is worthwhile or not, to God. But then it's divided up, and more every single day. We'll learn about this more every single day and then every single hour. How exactly this works is what's going to be the topic of next week's class. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now, 1 second. Next week, yeah, that's right. Next week is Rosh Chodesh Av, but Tisha B'av is also, that's going to be the week after next, right?
Right. Sunday is going to be the 2nd of Av.
That's right. Sunday is the 2nd of Av, so that's okay.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you for the amazing Chapt story.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay.
The twisted, yeah.
And to see if you can be in touch with was it Grendel?
Zulke.
Yes, and see what she says. Okay. Shalom. Have a good week.
All the best. Shabbat Tov. Thank you.
Say hello to the baby for me.
I will.
Shalom Uvracha.
Thank you.
Shalom.